I want it to be partially blind. I want it to be love is blurry. Love is blurry. Well,
that is the sexiest, hottest mugshot I've ever seen.
That's an actual mugshot. Now,
I can't believe I just did.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's not even bad, but I see that that was hard for you, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Do you guys remember that guy, the hot felon, that was in jail for grand theft? Not only did he have a modeling career, because he got so viral, he actually ended up dating this top shop billionaire heiress girl or whatever for 2 years until they broke up for whatever reason. And look at this dud, okay? Talking about this, a very attractive girl. Oh, she's so charming.
This very attractive, very vibrant young woman. She was extremely charismatic. She said, "Hi, I'm Jody."
This girl literally unalived her boyfriend, okay? Her ex-boyfriend. Sorry for the TikTok cringe. So in the same world where you have hot felons, okay, and charming, beautiful, attractive killers, there comes along a show called Love is Blind that states that looks do not matter, especially when it comes to love. And I'm gonna call BS on that and give you guys a couple of case studies where pretty privilege was absolutely real and upfront and center. Now first, let's talk about the love triangle, or at least the triangle that Bartise created in his mind that consisted of Nancy, Raven, and Bartise. Now I will be very upfront with my opinion here. Bartise seems like the type of guy that absolutely treats people based on what he thinks their perceived value in society would be. So for example, if he thinks that you're beautiful and society would treat you well, he's gonna treat you well. And if he thinks you're ugly or unattractive, he's gonna treat you just based on that. Now, from the beginning, it was very obvious that he was not attracted to Nancy whatsoever. And even if he was maybe slightly attracted to Nancy, that went absolutely out the door when he saw Raven. Do you guys remember that one comment he made where he was literally like, oh, like SK and Raven don't make sense together, but me and Raven, now we make sense together? Based on what? Your bloated self-esteem? Throughout the season, Bartise continues to like mistreat Nancy, obviously. And to me, when Nancy got on the altar and actually said no to Bartise, I was genuinely so upset. And I was literally like, girl, are you settling for crumbs here? Because what the hell is going on? Like, respect yourself. But at the same time, what I think was going on was either one of two things. So one, maybe she had low self-esteem to begin with, or two, she actually fell in love with Bartise. And so she was really, really trying to make it work, essentially. Now, on the matter of self-esteem, I feel like it's a vicious cycle because, so maybe you're not conventionally attractive as deemed by society, and so society potentially mistreats you. And because society mistreats you, you now have a low self-esteem. And even later on in the most recent episodes, when Nancy wants to cut off the friendship because she's finding it very hard to deal with, Bartise gave zero shits about that friendship ending, which just goes to show that he'd never really cared about Nancy to begin with. Now, Bartise actually reminds me of this guy I knew in college who was my roommate's ex-boyfriend. So at the time when they were dating, every time he would come over, he would not acknowledge my presence, okay? He would never even say hi to me. He would just come over, hang out with my roommate, and then leave. Fast forward 2 years later, they've broken up, a summer has passed, I've lost 25 pounds, and tell me why, then, of all times, this man comes up to me, you know, we ran into each other, and he's like, a big smile on his face, and he's like, oh, hey, Yusra, how's it going? This man had not acknowledged me for 2 years, and I'm 25 pounds down, and now all of a sudden it's, hey, Yusra, how's it going? You want to hang out sometime? No, I don't want to hang out anytime with you, you shallow person. But going back to Bartise, essentially what it is that he found this license to mistreat Nancy because he just didn't find her very attractive or conventionally beautiful or her value in society to be very high. And that's a classic case of lack of pretty privilege. Now, Raven, that third person in Bartise's imaginary triangle, right? Some might say, well, it's not like Raven with all the pretty privilege that she had, she even got her way because SK eventually cheated on her. But that is a totally different concept because when it comes to cheating, it actually has nothing to do with the person that gets cheated on and everything to do with the person who cheats. So I don't think there is any relevance of SK cheating with the pretty privilege that, Raven has. Now I want to talk about the only South Asian couple that ever appeared on Love is Blind as far as I can remember. and one of the most controversial ones, Deepti and Sheikh. Now, just straight off the bat, one thing I want to address is the fact that both of these people actually said that they had never dated other brown people and that they preferred blondes or white people. Like, I understand everybody has preferences and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you never dated another brown person? Now, that to me just screams internalized racism.
I met an Arab guy that was so obsessed with white people that he told me his life's goal was to get married to a white woman.
I definitely want to give Deepti what I think is some benefit of the doubt based on what I think is going on here, okay? So Deepti, in conventional terms, is not considered very attractive in the South Asian society, and I think it's because of her darker skin color. In her case, not dating another brown guy, I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that she herself was never really accepted in the South Asian society, or if brown guys even were giving her much of a look or a chance or pursuing her at all. That is one thing that I do wonder about, because as someone who falls in the middle of the color spectrum in what is considered beautiful in South Asian culture, I definitely myself have experienced minor forms of this same thing where I'm not white enough, so I'm not considered the most beautiful in my own society, right? So I wonder if it has something to do with that. Now, in the case of Sheikh, no, that dude was just, whew. And another reason I think that Deepti potentially has maybe less internalized racism or no internalized racism at all compared to Sheikh, for example, is because even when she matched with Sheikh, she really did try to give that a chance. On the other hand, Sheikh, for example, every single opportunity that man got, he tried his best to bring that poor girl down. Isn't that the same girl whose butt you were grabbing and now you turn around and you're talking to the boys and now you're saying she's your aunt? Now, I could go into the depths of colorism, and I probably will in a future video, but the point of the matter is that whatever the situation, the internal situation was for Deepti and for Sheikh, Sheikh was not attracted to Deepti at all, and I definitely think that Deepti kept an open mind when it came to Sheikh. Again, because Sheikh was not attracted to Deepti, he really found like this license to just diss her and make her feel like shit, like any opportunity he got, which again, that is the main problem here. And honestly, I mean, in this case, I think Sheikh is just bizarre, and I don't know why for a man that says love is blurry he was even on the show, because I think to him looks do mean everything, and he could only be with somebody that he thinks is pretty, and he would then provide his privileges to her. And finally, we talk about Mark and Jessica. Here the tables are turned. You know, here the girl doesn't think the guy is attractive enough to be her partner. There were maybe a couple of factors here, maybe his age, maybe he wasn't successful enough, but generally, I definitely think that it was the fact that Jessica did not find Mark conventionally attractive enough to date. And this girl literally dreaded every single moment she had with this guy. I mean, honestly, in season 1, it really felt like Jessica was like so obsessed with Barnett, like too obsessed with Barnett, okay? And I definitely think, I remember him being like an engineer, if I remember correctly. Season 1 was a while ago. But I also think that he was definitely very conventionally attractive. I think a lot of the girls liked him. So, you know, that was definitely a reason why Jessica was like obsessed with the guy throughout the season. Or at least that's what they showed us, right? One thing I do wonder is if Mark was rich, but he had the same looks that he had, how would Jessica have treated him then? Because I just don't know what her preference was on that matter, but we'll never know when it comes to that. How excited these guys get when they're talking to people in the pods and they're forming these connections, like from their hearts, you know, and their minds, and then they see the person and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're not my type, and it's over. Like, it's essentially over. And even in the cases where Love is Blind has actually worked, for example, Lauren and Cameron, my favorite couple, Lauren is actually drop dead gorgeous. And Cameron's not bad for the eyes either. So where Love is Blind has actually worked, it's been because both of those people are on the same level of attraction as deemed by society. So in the case of Cameron and Lauren, they're both very conventionally attractive, so it makes sense that their relationship would actually work out. To be honest, I genuinely think that this show was literally created so that fate could bring together Lauren and Cameron and they could live happily ever after. Honestly, like it hasn't been that great since then. And every season, I feel like these elements are repeating where people connect in the pods, they go out, they then see each other, and one of them is not attractive to the other person. And this person then is like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I destroy your self-esteem forever. Now, as with most things, I could not discuss the nuance of duality, right? Which is that with every concept, there's one hand and then there's the opposite hand, right? And so, for example, when it comes to pretty privilege, a lot of the times the girls that are very pretty, they say that having pretty privilege has its disadvantages too. And I would never ever disagree with that, right? Like, for example, I totally understand that you're so pretty that a man would never look into your soul because he's just so focused on the exterior, right? Like, he would never even take you seriously. And I can also understand that, for example, a lot of other girls might be jealous of the pretty girl in the room. It's almost natural, right? And on top of that, because you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, I feel like looks have been at the forefront of your life for maybe a majority of your life. And because that is at the forefront for you, it would make sense, for example, that, you would be more insecure about your appearance over time than the average person because it's just consistently about your looks and how you appear to others all the time. So in a way, there are some disadvantages to being pretty or having pretty privilege. At the same time, however, I just want a very pretty girl to answer one question. If given the opportunity to be ugly, would you take it?
I just saw this video of this girl on my For You page talking about how being pretty is a curse, and I just feel like this is such a deeply unserious conversation to be having. Being pretty is a curse in the way that being rich is a curse. Bad things can happen to you, but you would never choose to opt out of being rich. Like, are you crazy? There are downsides to being pretty, but whenever people make these videos, they never say points that make sense. Like, I feel like a valid point would be when you are pretty, you get harassed more. But no one ever says that. They're always like, oh, well, it's hard to make girlfriends because women are jealous of me. Okay.
Another nuance that I don't think is discussed enough is the categorization of pretty privilege. So I think it's very important that when you are talking about pretty privilege, you don't blanket the term completely and you categorize it into the type of pretty privilege that's being discussed. For example, fat phobia versus transphobia versus colorism versus racism, they're all very different topics like within the blanket of pretty privilege or lack thereof. And so, for example, like my friend's ex-boyfriend at the time, I mean, that was a classic case of fat phobia, right? Your physical appearance affects different aspects of your life. For example, if you're considered to be super attractive, there are certain job opportunities that may actually lean towards you. It's bizarre to me that someone would get a job based on their looks rather than based on merit. I mean, and even like talking about extremes here, like legal sentences for people that are attractive have seen to be lower than those that are not attractive. And especially across different races, it's a disaster. That's essentially what the problem is, right? Your looks, unfortunately, will always matter because that is the first glance that the world gets of you.
I don't think a lot of people understand what it's generally like not to have pretty privilege. It affects your life in pervasive ways. There have been studies done that people who are seen as attractive earn a lot more money, are more likely to get approved for housing, job applications. They are more likely to be believed, even when they are lying. They are more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt. Even in social settings, they are seen as more better, because of the halo effect where they're associated with more positive traits.
We will continue to live in a world that is a shallow place, but to be quite honest, like it is not fair to be blinded by your own biases, right? And your own preferences. And for you to think that, oh, okay, just because this person doesn't fall within my realm of attractiveness or what I want for myself, oh, all of a sudden I'm just going to treat them like trash. And when it comes to love is absolutely not blind. Attraction and pretty privilege and preference and looks are at the core of how love works. So as much as I love to enjoy watching my reality TV, the whole core of Love is Blind is an actual joke because a show that claims that physical appearance does not matter, every single season, there's more and more case studies of how looks actually do matter, and the person that is considered less attractive, their partner treats them like trash. Every single season there's a case study here. So my entire point of talking about this is that pretty privilege is actually very real, and Love is Blind proves it every single season. Now, as season 4 rolls around, I'm curious to see how this pattern is unfortunately gonna repeat itself. Alright you guys, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, tell me your own experiences on your pretty privilege or lack thereof in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.